Good day! So my topic for today is all about the Journal and Fish Nutrition, Journal and Food Composition and Analysis from Volume 91, date of August 2020, page 103 to 508. And the original research article is all about the nutrient composition of 19 fish species from Sri Lanka and potential contribution to food and nutrition security. Fish is an important part of Sri Lanka diet. However, the existing data on the nutrients composition of fish in Sri Lanka is highly outdated and limited. The aim of this study was to report the nutrients composition of commonly consumed marine fish species in Sri Lanka and assess the potential contribution of selected key nutrients in fish recommended nutrients intake or RNA. So fish were sampled during a survey with research vessel Dr. Fridtjof Nansen around in Sri Lanka. Species were categorized as either small less than 25 cm n equals 12 or large greater than 25 cm or n equals 7. So their composition sample from each species were analyzed using acrylic method. Small species commonly consumed whole contained significantly higher concentrations of micronutrients such as calcium 960 mg to 100 g, then iron is 3.3 mg to 100 g, and zinc is 2.1 mg to 100 g. So vitamins A is 295 mg to 100 g, and EPA or EPA and DHA 0.14 and 0.32 gram to 100 gram respectively. Than larger species where only the fillet is consumed. So, ang isda isa sa mahalagang bahagi ng Sri Lanka diet. So, ang layunin ng pag-aaral na ito is i-report and iulat yung mga nutrients composition ng mga karaniwang ginagamit na marine fish species sa Sri Lanka at masuri yung mga potential na contribution ng mga napiling pangunahing nutrients sa isda and i-recommenda ito sa nutrient intake or yung tinatawag nating RNA. Seafood, particularly fish, play a crucial role in global food and nutrition security or FNS, as it represents an important and nutrient-dense animal source of food, especially in many low and middle income countries or LMICs. In Sri Lanka, a small island nation located in the Bay of Bengal completely surrounded by the Indian Ocean, marine fisheries play a key role in the country's social and economic life. In FAO 2006, a foreign per capita fish consumption was estimated to be 31.4 kg per year in 2016 in FAO 2019. Fish and fish products are estimated to comprise approximately 55% of total animal protein intake per capita FAO 2018, and therefore considered the most important source of animal protein in the Sri Lanka diet in Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources Development from 2016. So, ang seafood or particular na ang isda is gumaganap ng malagang papel sa pandiigdigan food and nutrition security or ito ngayong FNS dahil ito ay kumakatawan sa isang mahalaga at siksik na sustansya sa pinagmumula ng pagkain ng hayop lalo na sa mga bansang low middle income countries. So, ang Sri Lanka is maliit na island nation na matatagpuan sa Bay of Bengal na napapalibutan ng Indian Ocean. Poor dietary diversity is a leading cause of malnutrition. Fish represent a relatively cheap and easily available means of nutritional diversification in several LMICs, where diets depend heavily on a narrow range of staple foods regardless of the inherent nutritional variance in marine species due to habitat, region, seasons, and edible part. Most marine fish species share a quantity of unified nutritional characteristics and are considered an important source of several essential nutrients in the human diet. Fish is a good source of the key nutrients such as highly bioavailable animal proteins, marine long-chain omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, N3 LCPUFA, including icosapentaenoic acid EPA and docosahexaenoic acid DHA, and numerous micronutrients including vitamin A, vitamin B12, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, and iodine. So, pag sinabi nating poor dietary diversity is ito yung pangunahing sanhi ng malnutrition. The scientific documentation and quantitative information on the role of fish for FNS in LMICs are generally scattered and or lacking, leaving fish rather absent in the development of nutrition-based approach directed to improve FNS knowledge. The nutrients composition of food or food composition data are essential in providing the foundation for almost all aspects of nutrition and represent a basic and invaluable tool to improve FNS. Reliable, up-to-date food composition data are fundamental importance to a multitude of nutrition-based activities such as establishing and assessing clinical practice, government policy, development and implementation, food regulation and manufacturing, and for educational purposes. The Sri Lanka Food Composition Table was first published in 1979 and consistent of 90% borrowed values from the Indian Food Composition Table. Since then, only minor efforts have been made to further updates and develop the Food Composition Table. So, yung mga komposisyon ng mga pagkain o data ng komposisyon ng pagkain ay mahalaga sa pagbibigay ng pundasyon para sa halos lahat ng aspeto ng nutrisyon ay nagre-represent ito ng basic and valuable tool to improve FNS. The aim of this paper was to generate analytical data on the composition selected nutrients in commonly consumed marine fish species in Sri Lanka. Further, we compared the potential contribution of selected key nutrients to recommended nutrients intake or RNA for 19 to 50 years old, non-pregnant, non-lactating, healthy females of reproductive age. The specific nutrients considered were calcium, iron, zinc, and vitamin A, which are known as public health concern in Sri Lanka and are often considered problematic to obtain in the rice-dominant diet represent in Sri Lanka. So, ang layunin ng papel na ito is makabuo ng analytical data sa composition ng mga napiling sustansya sa karaniwang ginagamit ng mga species ng isda sa dagat ng Sri Lanka. Then, dagdag pa dito is ikinumpara ang potential na kontribusyon ng mga napiling pangunahing sustansya sa inirekomendang nutrients intake or RNA is para sa 19 to 50 years old lamang na hindi buntis, hindi napapasuso, malusog na babae na nasa edad ng reproduktibo. So, dito naman tayo sa materials and methods. So, this paper used data collected through scientific survey with the research vessel or R/B Dr. Fritz John Nansen as part of the collaboration between the EAF Nansen Program and the National Aquatic Resources Research and the Development Agencies or ito yung NARA in Sri Lanka. The EAF Nansen Program is a partnership between the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations of FAO, the Norwegian Agency of Development Cooperation or NORAD, and the Institution of Marine Research or IMR is a Bergen, Norway for sustainable management of the fisheries of partner countries. Sampling of fish. Sampling was carried out during a survey in Sri Lankan Territorial Sea by R/B Dr. Fritz John Nansen, starting from the north coast near the Indian border to the northwestern coast of Sri Lanka from June 24 to July 15, 2018. Appendix A is the pelagic and demersal trawls were continuously unloaded on the deck before the catch subsequently was sorted and identified by onboard taxonomies. Fish were selected for sampling based on the species importance to local food habits as advised by Sri Lankan marine and food scientists on board. Analytical methods. So, analysis of approximate components and vitamins and minerals is were performed in singular parallels at IMR laboratories in Norway. The analytical method used for determination of crude protein, crude fat, fatty acids, and vitamin and minerals are described in detail by Rexten. Determination of crude protein and fatty acids. So, crude protein was determined by burning the sample material in pure oxygen gas in combustion tubes. Then, the nitrogen was detected with the Thermal Conductivity Detector or TCD LECO Corporation St. Joseph MIUSA, and the content of nitrogen was calculated from estimated average of 16% nitrogen per 100 gram protein or AOAC in 1995. Then crude fat was extracted with ethyl acetate and filtered before the solvent evaporated and the fat residue was weighed. Determination of vitamin and mineral. The concentration of vitamin A1, some all-trans retinol, and 13, 11, 9-cis retinol, and A2 was determined using analytical high-performance liquid chromatography HPLC, normal phase and a photodiode array detector VDA, or normal phase and photodiode array detector HPLC 1960 system Agilent Technologies Santa Clara in USA Committee European of Normalizations N12 823 to 1-2000. Determination of vitamin D3 was performed using a preparative HPLC column and ultraviolet detector. Then, the data management and presentation of data is all analytical values were exported from Laboratory Information Management Systems LIMS to Microscope Office 365 XL 2013 version 15.0 for calculation of means. The data are presented as means SD for 100 gram for the 3 composition sample of each species of fish reported to the same units expression and rounding procedure as advertised in FAO guidelines for composition data. And calculation of potential contribution to recommended nutrients intake are the potential contribution of each species to daily RNI was calculated in regard to recommended of 1950 years old, non-pregnant, non-lactant, healthy female, and reproductive age. The micronutrients of interest were calcium, iron, zinc, and vitamin A. Fox, but iron, and zinc. The RNA vary according to estimated overall dietary bioavailability, which is depend on the presence of other enhanced and inhibitor in the diet. So, in result, the sample characteristic is, this study include 19 commonly consumed fish species in Sri Lanka. An overview of the identification detail each species sampled, including the scientific name, English name, common name, Sinhalese and Tamil name when available. The natural habitat and weight and length characteristics of each species are presented in Table 2. For small species, average weight per fish was 21 to 15 gram, whereas the mean length was 11.3 to 3.1 cm. In Table 2, identification detail and overview of species sampled during the 2018 Nansen survey around Sri Lanka calculation. In Table 2, A values are represented as mean standard deviation or SD and are based on length and weight value prior or any handling of the included species. B. Information on English name and habitats were obtained through the Global Species Database, FishBase, POES, and POLIT 2019. C. Weight and length measurement are expressed as the mean of the reposite sample consisting of n number of fish per small species and per individual fish per large species. D. Sinhalese name has been confirmed using the Global Species Database, FishBase. E. The Sinhalese names of all species were not available. F. Species categorized as large fish through their length was less than 25 cm based on input on the eating practice of the current species given by the local scientists on board. Proximate composition. The protein, fat, and percentage of dry matter of the samples expressed as gram, 100 gram, edible portion are represented in Table 3. All species may be categorized as relatively good sources of protein with a mean protein content for small species of 18.96 gram, 100 gram, and an average value for large species of 20.52 gram/100 gram. According to total fat content, 9 of the 12 small species are categorized as intermediate, 2 to 8% total fat, and all large sample are categorized as lean, less than 2% total fat, according to Norwegian and Danish categorization of lipid content in percentage of total body weight. In Table 3, we can see the analytical values of the approximate composition of the 19 fish species sampled from Sri Lanka. In Table 3, A values are represented as means as standard deviation, or SD of 19 fish species analyzed in triplicates expressed as the nutrient content per 100 gram raw edible sample. B. Number of composite sample analyzed for large species or greater than 25 cm. 5 fish are included in each composite sample, whereas for small species less than 25 cm and 25 fish are included in each composite sample. C. For this species, each composite sample consisted of 50 individual fish in order to obtain enough sample materials. In vitamin content, the vitamin A, vitamin B12, and vitamin D content are represented in Table 5. The vitamin A1 content range from 2.7 mg 100 gram to 2000 mg 100 gram, whereas vitamin A2 was undetected values less than LOQ in 5 large species and range up to 46 mg / 100 gram. Significant difference between large and small species were found for both vitamin A1 and A2, P less than 0.0001 for both. The total vitamin A content A1 plus A2 was generally low in all large species compared to small species, where the mean content for vitamin A1 was 6.9 mg / 100 gram and 280 mg / 100 gram in large and small species respectively. In mineral composition, the mean mineral content in small species significantly exceeded those of large species for all minerals except for potassium in Table 6. Overall, the small species Leiognathus dusomerieri average higher than the other species in calcium, iron, iodine, phosphorus, selenium, and zinc content, and the second highest in magnesium content. The calcium content varied considerably with a range from 7.9 mg / 100 gram in the large species Spirena jello to almost 300 times with a value of 2300 mg / 100 gram. The mean value of calcium for small and large species showed significant variation with a mean content of 960 mg / 100 gram for small species and 100 mg for 100 gram for large species in P less than 0.0001. In potential contribution to RNI, the species potential contribution to RNI of calcium, iron, zinc, and vitamin A are presented in Figure 1, Figure 2, Figure 3, Figure 4. Small species eaten whole were in general significantly more nutrient dense in terms of this micronutrient than whole fish where only the fillet is consumed. In Figure 1, we can see the various species calcium content in one serving size of 30 g and a portion of 100 g in reference to the average recommended nutrient intake or RNA of 19 to 50 years old women of reproductive age. The recommended nutrient intake of calcium for this group is estimated to be 1000 mg / per day as indicated by the bold line, and the whiskers represent a standard deviation. In Figure 2, the various species zinc content in one serving size of 30 gram and a portion of 100 gram in reference to the recommended nutrient intake or RNA of 19 to 50 years old women or reproductive age. The recommended nutrient intake estimated to be 9.8 mg per day as a value that exceeds the contribution from the serving size of any single species. The whiskers represent the standard deviation of the mean. For discussion, this paper represents comprehensive analytical information on a large amount of nutrient in several commonly consumed marine fish species called coast of Sri Lanka. All species included in this paper may be significant dietary source of protein, numerous micronutrients, and essential fatty acid if included in the diet. The content of the several micronutrients such as calcium, iron, zinc, vitamin A, and EPA and DHA, however, significantly higher is small species consumed whole, including bones, skins, and viscera, compared to the larger fish species where only the fillet is consumed. Several species were also identified to have the potential to contribute to substantially to the RNA of women of reproductive age for multiple nutrient improved for FNS in Sri Lanka. In vitamin content, there seems to be general assumption within the scientific literature that due to the fat-soluble nature of both vitamin A and vitamin D, fatty fish fillet typically contains greater concentration of these vitamins than lean fish, in which the majority of these vitamins are concentrated in the liver, has 1995. However, the result represented in this paper somewhat deviate from this general assumption. There seems to be random variation the vitamin D content between species with no clear pattern attribute to either fat nor size categorization. Even lean fish species contain remarkable amount of vitamin D. In mineral content, the high content of several important minerals is small fish species may be naturally attributed to the inclusion and exclusion of various parts of the fish, bones, skin, head, viscera, and etc. in the analyzed sample, and which part of the fish that are consumed are therefore of great importance for FNS as argued by Bogard et al. In strengths and limitation, according to Greenfield and Southern Gate 2003, the number of subsamples included per analytical sample should be calculated from the variance of the nutrient composition of the food product in order to achieve means with reasonable levels of confidence. This was not performed in this paper. However, all analytical values were based on the sample consisting of at least 15 individual fish. In conclusion, in this paper, we haven't described the concentration of several nutrients in 19 commonly consumed marine fish species from Sri Lanka. All fish species are a good source of key nutrient when included in the diet. Wool including head, bones, and viscera are significantly more nutrients dense compared to fillet sample of larger species, especially regarding micronutrients such as calcium, iron, zinc, vitamin A and EPA and DHA substantial to the RNA women of reproductive age for multiple micronutrients important for FNS in Sri Lanka, of which small species Leognatus dusomyeri presented noticeably higher levels of most micronutrients compared to other species.